chat video, and I do apologise for the wobbly camera. Cannot find my stand. That'll do. And in today's video, I'm talking about the Switch 2, which I've spoken about many a times in past videos. But there seems to be some new rumours, some leaks that are floating around, and it's caused quite a stir. As with all of these could be just rumours, they could be speculation, but we seem to have found quite a bit of information in this. Normal rumours are just the odd glimmer of, oh, it's possibly this or possibly that. I'm going to just shoot out what the leaks and what the rumour is saying. So it's going to have 12 gig of RAM, that's 2 sticks. It's going to have an 8-inch screen. It's going to have magnetic Joy-Cons, 256 gig of storage, NFC, a mic, dual cooling fans, USB-C. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what the specs are looking at. If they're true, then it's going to be a serious piece of kit. We thought we knew anyway, that it would have an 8-inch screen. That now has been, I say, confirmed again in this latest leak. So it's going to make the Switch 2 a big console, which means all your regular Joy-Cons won't fit. On the subject of Joy-Cons, it looks as if they're going to do away with the rail, and it will be magnetic. Not sure how I feel about that. I'm not a big fan of the Joy-Cons as it is on the regular Switch, which is why I've got a Switch Lite, because I like that sort of solid feel. But time will tell whether they are magnetic Joy-Cons and how they charge, etc. So let's take a quick look through that. If it's got 12 gig of RAM, that's going to put it ahead of the Xbox Series S, which only has 10 gig of RAM. And I think that the RAM speeds are pretty much the same. It's going to be on par roughly with the power of the Xbox Series S. We don't know too much about the CPU yet, but it's going to have DLSS, so it can have enough power, and then this DLSS will sort of push it up a bit. So it could end up being an absolutely superb console. These rumours, they look fantastic. 256 gig storage. That's up from the 32 and the 64 in the current range of switches. NFC, well, that's already got that. It's got a mic, dual cooling fans, which indicates that it's going to be a beast of a console and need better cooling. It's going to have HDMI 2.1, so it should be able to output 4K and HDR. Size-wise, it's looking at 206mm by 115mm by 14mm. That is considerably bigger than the current Switch. It does look like it's got a cartridge flap, so fingers crossed that it's backward compatible. You can put your own Switch games in. That would make it absolutely fantastic. I think Nintendo would be very unwise to just cut off the current Switch. So that is good. We so far have no release date, although it is supposed to be before the end of the financial year. So at the latest, it's going to be April next year. Although there are strong rumours that by the end of this month or early into October, the Nintendo will actually confirm it and give us some more info and announce it properly. But those are the current list of leaked specs that are floating around. I've got some rough notes here which I'm sort of jotting off. It sounds fantastic. No mention of whether it's got a camera. I always found it slightly odd that the Switch ditched the camera, especially when it was such a big thing with the DSi and the 3DS, and with all this sort of social media going on, it would really add to it. But then you don't get things like Netflix on the Switch, and it's not really used as a media device. Perhaps they'll change that with the Switch 2, they'll add in a camera. They'll add in social media, YouTube and Netflix, and be able to sort of watch your shows on it. But looking at the Switch 2 suspected specs, I'm pretty impressed. Um, if it's going to be as sort of as on power with the Xbox Series S, 12 gig of RAM, that is a serious bump from. I think the current Switch has 4. Someone please correct me if that's wrong. 4 or 6 gig. Screen size, well, I'm not too bothered about that because I use a Switch Lite. There was no mention of the Switch Lite 2 or the Switch 2 Lite, but that came sort of 2 or 3 years into the current gen of Switches anyway. So even if the Switch 2 does come out this year, it's going to be a number of years before I pick one up, because I would go for the portable Lite version if they bring one out. I can't see why not, because the Switch Lite has been highly successful despite its limitations and a lot of people not liking the lack of Joy-Cons, lack of rumble, etc. I still think the Switch Lite is my favourite model. Dual cooling fans, NFC, the storage, well, you really did expect it to have more storage, because the 32 gig in regular Switch or the 64 in the OLED is really sort of paltry in terms of what else is being offered. And if this is a bigger, faster console, then it's going to be, the game's going to be larger, so you're going to need more storage. I'm assuming you can expand that with some kind of micro SD or maybe an internal sort of a mini SSD, something like that. Yeah, well, that's me running through the specs and the rumours that have been leaked. What are my thoughts? Just one more thing. There seems to be an extra button on the right Joy-Con, although no one seems to know what it's for. So what do I think of it? It was a given that it was going to be faster. We already kind of knew that it was going to be bigger. So is it just going to be a bigger, faster Switch? A Switch that is more capable of handling games of this generation? It looks like it is. And is that a good or a bad thing? Well, we need a more powerful Switch if it's going to be able to cope with the newer games, so it's on level with like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. But don't want Nintendo to fall into the same trap that Sony and Microsoft do. They release a new console and it's bigger and faster and shinier than the previous one, and not bring anything else new. Nintendo, I mean, it's still going to be underpowered compared to things like the Xbox Series X and the PS5, but that's where Nintendo likes to sit. They don't bring out consoles that are top end. They bring them out and they have a unique selling point to them. So with the Wii, it was drastically underpowered, but the motion control made it fantastic. The Switch, with this hybridness, that's where they got that unique from. With the Switch 2, it just sounds to me like it's going to be a bigger, faster Switch, which I'm sure Nintendo looked at what options they had and the success of the Switch and why it's been successful. And some of that is because it's portable and a home console. So maybe they just don't want to stay away or stray away from too much of a winning formula. But they do run into the issue of it being another Wii U, where it didn't really offer that much. Yes, it was better graphics and a faster machine, but it just wasn't as successful, anywhere near as successful as the Wii. And with the Switch becoming, well, it's now the second biggest selling console of all time, there's a possibility that could overtake the PS2 and become the biggest selling console. We don't want another flop situation with the Switch 2, and I'm sure there's going to be something new on the Switch 2 that Nintendo will bring that everybody will go, "Oh, I want that feature," and that's why they do it. It can't just be a bigger, faster Switch. That's not enough of a pulling point. Although when you've got a user base as big as the Switch, as long as it's backward compatible, as long as they carry on the sort of Nintendo way of doing things, people are going to migrate to it. I'm a little bit on the fence. A bigger, faster Switch, that's what we need. But I think we need to add in just some extra bits and not just some fanciness. Most people aren't going to care whether it's capable of 4K or it's a tricky one. They can't just rely on it being bigger and faster. I mean, that might give it an initial push and initial sales, but the Switch has had year on year big sales because of its uniqueness, because of what it brought to the market. So the Switch 2, those are the rough specs: 12 gig RAM, 8 gig screen, magnetic Joy-Cons, 256 gig storage, NFC, mic, dual cooling fans, USB-C. Apparently it's got 2 USB-C ports. The dock will have an Ethernet port, although the OLED one did anyway. HDMI 2.1. Possible backward compatibility. No mention of a camera. Those specs sound impressive, and I'm sure they are, but Nintendo, I feel, need to do something more than just bring out a bigger, faster, shinier, beefier console. They need to bring a unique selling point like they've done in previous consoles. So you can take all of these with a pinch of salt. There may not be any truth in some of these rumours and leaked specs, but those are rife on the net at the minute. So I thought I'd just bring them in. I've spoken a lot about the Switch 2 in the past. Hopefully in the next few weeks, possible month, we will hear something official from Nintendo. But there you go, that is my take on it. Those are the leaked sort of specs that are floating around. Bigger and faster, it's what we need, but we do need something else just to keep that Nintendo momentum going. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this video, this live stream. If I've missed something or I've gotten something wrong, then please drop a comment, let me know. And yeah, like my channel, subscribe, check out my other videos, and enjoy.